Hey, I know today we said we had 2 announcements, and every time I say that, people always go to worst case scenario. They're like, what's Nathan going to say? Don't worry, we're all okay, all right? Now, everything's fine, all right? And so many of you may be disappointed today with the announcement, but I oftentimes have people come to me, and they'll ask me, so what's it like being a pastor? Do you work like 1 day a week? And I wish. It would be so wonderful if that was the case. You know, it's interesting when they do surveys on job stress, in the top 5, pastor always comes up within the top 5. Because usually we are working 50 to 60 hours a week, and unlike your traditional job, our hours don't just stop at 9 or they don't just stop at 6, that our job really continues into any hour of the night, whether it's a phone call, that there's a crisis that's needed or something needs to be taken care of. Our hours are early in the morning. I haven't really had a weekend off in almost 3 months, and so there's a lot of work that goes into it. And believe it or not, my job is not just to present a 45-minute talk on Sunday mornings, although that's a lot of work and energy there that comes with that. I also get to work as a CEO, a CFO, a marketing expert, a budget expert, managing about 100 volunteers a week and making sure that everything stays on track. I manage our leases here at the union, and there's a lot that comes with the responsibility of being a pastor. And there's a weight that comes with carrying the struggles of hundreds of people that I feel blessed and honored to have the privilege of people coming to me and to our team and sharing what's going on in their life, but there's a weight that comes with this. And this is why most pastors statistically end up in some type of moral failure or burnout. They usually end up driving their life off a cliff, either through an action or they're unaware of it, and they just end up completely falling apart in the middle of this. Now, I have had the unique privilege of leading our community through several wonderful crises over the years. Everything from a sale of a 60,000 square foot building in Chino to moving us to Pomona here. And then, I don't know if you've been with us through the journey, we've had 5 locations during our time here in Pomona. And so we've had the privilege of moving 5 different times throughout the city, making sure that we have places to be. And we're here, which is amazing. Oh, and then there was this little thing called the pandemic that we got to lead through, which took 30% of churches out completely. We just wiped them off the map within a matter of a year here in California. And so there's a lot that I've had the privilege of leading through over the last 17 years here with our community. Now, most pastors every 7 years take this thing called a sabbatical. And a sabbatical is basically a season of time where a pastor says, hey, I'm unplugging from the work of pastorship and the normal work of that, and I'm going to take a season to just rest, relax, rejuvenate, make sure that I'm healthy, make sure that my family's healthy, making sure that we can actually continue to move forward. And in my 17 years of ministry here at Humanity Church, I have never taken a sabbatical. It's never even been a thought in my head. It's been one of those things where it's like, I know that's important, I probably should do that, but we've just kept moving forward. And usually it's because right when we get talking about something else hits. In fact, we were talking about it in 2019, and then of course the world went crazy. And it was not we kind of took our own type of sabbatical, but it was a forced sabbatical with a lot of chaos in between that. And here's the thing about being a pastor that's weird, is that my personal spirituality and my personal identity at times gets intertwined with our community. That my own spiritual health is really what helps our community thrive. When I'm not in a great place, it's hard to lead our community to a great place. And there are times, because I'm on call all the time, it's hard to know where I end and where humanity begins. Or even when Marla and I are together, it's hard to know where we end and where the church begins. And so this thing called sabbatical is really critical every now and then to create some healthy space and to also take a season to go, all right, I'm going to make sure that I'm my best self so that I can get back in the ring for another 7 years and make sure that we can continue forward. So, starting on June 23rd, which is in 3 weeks, I'm going to be taking a 2-month sabbatical here at Humanity Church, which is great. So, my work will shift from the day-to-day operations of Humanity, and my work will primarily be on me. It's going to be a lot of hey, what do I need to do to get healthier? What do I need to do to make sure our family is in a good space? What do I need to make sure that everything inside of me is in a great space to help us move forward? And to even revision with God around what the next 7 years look like for us and our community and where we're headed and the exciting things that come along with that. And here's the thing. It's going to be a 10-week complete disconnect. So you will not see me for 10 weeks. All right, folks? I will not be here. I will not be showing up. In fact, I'm excited. I'm going to get to go visit some other churches in Pomona that I've never, ever got to be to. I'll get the opportunity to go just receive from other ministries during this time and to be poured into during this time. I'll probably be good to go every now and then getting a coffee, but I will not be here running the day-to-day operations of this. Now, let me just say a few things up front. This is not because I've done anything wrong. There's always, I know some people have in the back of their head that is this like a spin on something that's happened behind the scenes, you know? Oftentimes when people are fired from a church, they say God's calling them to a new opportunity, you know? That's not this, all right? In fact, I am actually taking a sabbatical in a season where I actually feel incredibly healthy. I feel like I'm in a great spot. I feel like I'm in a great spot spiritually, emotionally, physically. I feel like our community is in one of the healthiest places it's been in years. And so, which is great. And it's actually allowing me to have this space to step into this. So this is not because I've done anything wrong. It's actually because we've done things right, and now we get to step into the future of what's next. Now, here's the thing. I have a few notices from pastors who have been on sabbatical because I've been doing my research about this. And here's oftentimes what happens during the season that a pastor is on sabbatical. The church goes into decline. That's not like a guarantee, but that's usually what happens. And it's usually because, well, Nathan's not there, and I like Nathan's preaching better than so-and-so, and, you know, I just like it when he's there, and so I'm going to go, and maybe when he gets back in 2 months, I'll come back, right? Or, you know, I'm a little tired this morning. Nathan's not going to be there. It's not as if Nathan's gone, maybe I could be gone, all right? And so here's the thing that would bless me. If you're like, hey, how could I bless Nathan during this season that he's on sabbatical? My request is that you would show up more often than you would. My request is that you would press in to serve more than you would, that you would give more than you would over these next 2 months. I would love to show up after these 2 months to this place like doubled in size and thriving and going, whoa, what on earth do we need to do with this? This is exciting, right? It would be awesome to not to come back to a bunch of crisis. That would be amazing. To undo 2 months of sabbatical instantaneously. So that is my request, is that you here would really thrive over the next few months. We have an incredible summer series that I'm so excited about. In fact, we got together last Sunday night and planned out the entire series with our communications team. We were going to be going through a series called More Than a Feeling. Yes, we will be using the song. And we're going to be taking a look at emotions in the scriptures through characters and individuals and how to healthily engage those. What are emotions that are engaged in a healthy way? What are emotions that are engaged in an unhealthy way? It's going to be a fun series over the summer. You are not going to want to miss it. So, all that to say is starting June 23rd, that will be my last Sunday, and I'll be gone for 2 months, and then I will be back and excited to lead us into the future, which will be amazing, which will be really good. Now, here's the second fun announcement that I'm really excited about. June 22nd will be my last Sunday here for 2 months, and we are not having a Sunday morning gathering that day. All right, we will not be, so if you show up here at 10 a.m. on that Sunday, you can go get a coffee and have your own church and good to go, all right? However, that evening at 6:30, our live production team, our worship team, our leaders are coming together to produce a worship night experience here at the cathedral, which is going to be really, really incredible. We're calling it Thin Space, and thin space is the definition of those. Have you ever been in a space where you're like, I feel like God is right here with me? Like, I feel like I could just reach out and touch him right now. Those moments, and those are often called a thin space, like the thin spaces between earth and heaven. And we are believing that night that God's going to show up in a really powerful way. We're just going to be doing a ton of worship set. We're going to be praying for people, for healing, for deliverance, for restoration. We are having pastors from all over Pomona come and pray over our city. So we are inviting multiple pastors, multiple ministers to come and to bless our city together. And here's what I would love for you to do. do. I would love for you to enjoy your morning, go get your brunch, do whatever you need to do on the 22nd, and then come and bring a ton of people here and let us worship like crazy on the 22nd. It is going to be a powerful, beautiful evening. So excited for that. It'll be my last Sunday here, your last opportunity to hear me speak, all right? And it's going to be a beautiful, beautiful time together. So those are the two announcements. I am really looking forward to the future and what it holds for us. I believe this next season is going to launch us into something really, really incredible. And I'm ready to be like fully poured into by God for 2 months and then like come. You better watch out because end of August, I'm going to be like a bull out of a gate, all right? So just be ready for it. It's going to be good. All right, well, let's pray and let's jump into our conversation today. Jesus, thank you so much for the opportunity to come together and to worship and to hear from you, to connect with one another. I pray that you would bless this time, that you would speak to us as we seek freedom this morning through your Spirit. In Jesus' name, amen. Well, we've been in this series called Freedom, and we've been looking at what it looks like to live free from our hearts, our souls, our minds, and our strengths or our bodies. And my longing, as I've said over the last few weeks, is that this would not be a theoretical conversation around what it means to be free. Not like, oh, that's a nice idea. There's a theory about being free. Or I know someone who's in bondage. They need to get free. But what does it look like for you to have an area in your life where you feel stuck and you're going, man, I am committed to getting free in this area. Now, I find it so interesting how often Jesus asked people, do you want to be free? And I know it seems like a dumb question, but he asked people all the time this question. In the book of John, in chapter 5, he comes to this man who's been by this pool. He couldn't walk his entire life, and he's been sitting at this pool trying to get healing, trying to get health, trying to find freedom. And Jesus comes up to him and asks him the question, do you want to be healed? Do you want to be free? And you know what he answers with? A bunch of excuses as to why he can't be free. He doesn't say yes, which is crazy, right? You would think if someone just walked up to him and said, do you want to walk? He'd be like, yes, hello. But he says, well, here's all the reasons why I can't. I've tried. Here's all the things I've done in the past. It doesn't work. It won't work for me. And Jesus asks him, do you want to be well? And I think that is oftentimes why we stay stuck in our own brokenness and our own bondage, is because when Jesus comes to us and says, do you want to be free? We do not passionately say yes. We give a whole bunch of other answers as to why we can't be free. See, I think we think of freedom as living in a place of like casting off all restraints. Essentially, like I get to do whatever I want. That is a very westernized view of what freedom looks like, of what it feels like, of what it means. But there is a cost that comes to living free. It is pricey. And there's some anxiety that comes with living free. Have you noticed that? I remember when I turned 18, I moved out of the house, and for some reason, I didn't feel the need to ask my parents' permission to get my ears pierced, but the second I turned 18 and moved out of the house, I got my ears pierced, just because I was like, I'm going to do this, right? Pastor's kids rebellion. And so, then I took the big jump, and look, I'm a risk taker in a lot of areas in life, but there's other areas in life where I have to think about it quite a bit before I take the jump. And I had always wanted a tattoo my whole life, and I thought, man, these things are permanent, you know? Like, you see people with, like, Bugs Bunny tattooed on them, and I think that was a regret. Sorry, Bugs Bunny tattoo people in the audience, but you think, man. And so I just thought, man, this is a lifelong choice. I will be put in a casket one day with this decision, right? Very few decisions in life are that permanent, but this is that permanent. And so I remember one day I was in Hollywood. I was on Hollywood Boulevard in LA, and me and my buddies were like, let's get a tattoo. So I go to the tattoo parlor, and right before this happens, I'm like, I should call my mom. Just to get her input, right? Just to get her input. So I call my mom and I said, Mom, I'm in Hollywood Boulevard in Hollywood and I think I'm going to get a tattoo. What do you think? And I was hoping she would say yes or no, but she said, call your dad, you're 18. I'm like, what? This is not helping, right? So I called my dad and I said, Dad, I'm on Hollywood Boulevard here in Hollywood and I'm getting a tattoo. I'm thinking about getting a tattoo. Should I get it? And he said, you're 18, do what you want. That was so unfair, right? Because now the decision is on me. I am the one who owns this decision in that moment. See, the moment that I'm free, the moment that I get to make my decisions, the moment that I get to own my life, all the freedom comes, but all the anxiety comes with it at the same time. all the fear about what is going to happen, and am I making the right decision? Is this the right thing to do? All comes with that. No more excuses, and all the diligence that comes with living in freedom come with that. See, I've come to the realization that most people say they want to be free, but they're unwilling to pay the price for that freedom. They're unwilling to go through the riddling anxiety at times to pressing into the freedom that is available to them. Because look, let's just be honest, there's a certain comfort that comes with familiarity, isn't there? Like even when we're in breakdown, at least we know how to handle the breakdown. This is why we have the same fights in our marriages over and over again. This is why we date the exact same people with just different heads over and over and over again. This is why every single time at the end of the month, probably right around now, you're looking at your bank account going, where did all that money go? Because we love the dysfunction. It's familiar. It's comfortable. We know exactly who we are. The second we break out of that, I don't know who I am. I don't know how to live in this freedom. And so I have no intention of being that person that stays stuck in the comfort of familiarity, and I want to take you into that journey with us, especially when that freedom is already bought and paid for and currently available to you, when it's sitting there waiting for you. Now, we've talked about the arenas of heart, soul, and mind. If you missed them, go back and listen to the podcast. It's available on the Humanity app and Spotify and anywhere podcasts are available to you. But today, we're going to tackle probably the most concrete areas of freedom, which is our strength. So I want to just start out by asking you a question. What is your conversation about your body? We all have one. But what is it? We all have this internal relationship to our physical bodies, and oftentimes we're unaware of it. Sometimes we are aware of it, and we don't actually know what that is. See, I find that most of us fall into a few camps. There are a few of you who are like the fitness nerds in the room, who you guys know who you are. You like weigh out your protein. You know what I'm talking about? You like religiously go to the gym, even if you're tired. There's no such thing as an excuse. You know, you go and you buy organic and you do all the things that you should do. And you actually have really, really powerful relationships with your physical body. You understand the strength and the power that comes with it. But I find that most of us have almost like an adversarial relationship with our body. We're fighting against it. There's a wrestle with how we relate to our physical bodies. See, because I know this is the case, because if I was to ask you what you love about your body, you could probably come up with a few things, right? Maybe you'd have to think about it like, oh, I like my eyes, or I like this, or I like this feature. If I asked you what you don't like about your body, you could probably rattle off a whole list, right? This hurts, and this is a little fluffy, and over here shouldn't be this way, whatever it is, right? You could just rattle off a whole list about the things that you don't like about your body. And so we either, in those places, either completely check out from our relationship with our body, or we just ignore it completely, or we live in this constant wrestle, this struggle with our bodies. Now, we're often aware of what's taking place in our heart. We're oftentimes aware of what's taking place in our mind, even our soul. We have a somewhat clear connection around what's happening with God and our relationship with Him. And when it comes to our bodies, we struggle with how do we find freedom with our strength in these areas. So what does it look like to live free with our strength, with our bodies? When Jesus was asked in Luke chapter 10, start verse 27, he answered, "Love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your strength, and with all your mind, and love your neighbor as yourself." Now this word strength does not just mean like our strength, like our bodies. It does include that. It does include our physical nature. But the actual translation of the word strength almost translates to like the phrase our muchness. It encompasses not just our bodies, but it encompasses our energy. It encompasses our actions. It encompasses our resources and how we use the physical things in our life. And so we've gone through these categories. If our heart is the executive center. It's like the COO of our life, making decisions about how we engage the world around us. If our soul is the integrative center, where it brings the heart and the mind and the body and everything together so it works as one. And if our mind is the interpretive center, if it's constantly informing us how we should think about things, then our strength is the implementation center. It's actually how I live out what's taking place all inside of me. It's the expression of what's taking place at an invisible level. It makes the invisible visible through us. See, it is through our strength that our heart, our soul, and our mind is expressed through our actions. See, I can actually know what's taking place at a mind level, at a heart level, at a soul level, just based on looking at how I live my life, at the actions that I take and the results of those actions. In Matthew chapter 6, starting in verse 21, Jesus gives us this brilliant framework for how to examine our lives. He says this, "For where your treasure is, there your heart will be also. Your eye is the lamp of the body. If your eyes are healthy, your whole body will be full of light. But if your eyes are unhealthy, your whole body will be full of darkness. If then the light within you is darkness, how great is that darkness?" Now here's the thing. I find that we often make assumptions about the intentions of our heart, the intentions of our soul, the intentions of our mind, and we make a lot of assumptions about why we do what we do. And they oftentimes paint us in very flattering light. Have you noticed that? We oftentimes are less connected to our actions and how they impact other people. We are more connected with our made-up intentions about why we do what we do. Like, have you ever done something really dumb? I'm sure you haven't, but just to go with me there, right? Maybe you've done something dumb with your finances. You've done something dumb in a relationship. You've done something dumb like in a circumstance or in your career. You've done something dumb with yourself. And you're like, that was dumb. And then you say to yourself, but you know what? I'm a good person. And my heart had really good intentions. And I didn't really want to cuss them out, but I did. It's so strange that my heart is so clean and pure, and that came out of me, right? I didn't want to blow my whole paycheck on dumb things, but my heart's in a good place, and so I just give so many other places that I needed to just do a little favor for myself over here. So, I'm good over here. I should have had that conversation, but I didn't because I have a really good heart and I wanted to protect them. And so now I would just rather live in conflict than be in relationship with things. And so we oftentimes make all kinds of excuses for what's taking place with our bodies based on our assumptions about what our hearts and our minds and our intentions that live there. Now, Jesus actually makes things really simple. He says, look, why don't we stop this whole assumptions about what's taking place in our heart and our mind and our souls? If you want to know what's taking place in your heart, your soul, your mind, just take a look at where you invest your energy. Just take a look at where you invest your time. Just take a look at how you spend your money and take a look at all the results around your life. If you were just to pause and go, let me just look at the landscape of my life, of what's been produced through my actions, of what's been produced through my energy, of what's been produced through my body, I could actually see about where I invest my muchness, my strength, my energy, my time, my resources. See, Jesus actually says, if your eyes are healthy, your whole body will be full of light. In other words, if the way that you interpret the world through your mind is healthy, then guess what? Your body is going to do healthy things. He says, if your whole heart has been submitted to him and you have mastered your longings, then your body will flow from it healthy actions and healthy results. He says, look, if you have submitted your soul to the voice of God and you are integrating his principles into your life, it will express itself through your actions and your energy. It will be implemented through your strength. So if your heart and your soul and your mind are full of darkness, it will be very difficult to find freedom through your actions. So you can just look at your life and go, how am I acting? And it will inform you if your heart, your soul, your mind are in darkness, or if they're in light. And by the way, this is why behavioral changes don't work. And the movement of Jesus, the church, for so long has assumed that if we can just get you to do different things, if we can just get you to behave differently, you will become a better person. That if you just stop doing that thing and start doing that thing, then you will be a good person. But it doesn't actually work because you can tell yourself all day till you're blue in the face that you need to do something or you need to stop doing something. But until your heart and your soul and your mind are liberated, what is inside of you will continue to be expressed through your actions, through your body, through your muchness somehow. It will find a way out. So until your heart, your soul, your mind are liberated, you will just keep repeating the same things over and over and over again. And so going back to Jesus' words, the powerful thing is you can just look out at your muchness, your actions, where your energy is going, how other people receive your energy, how other people, how you engage your resources, and they will inform you of what is taking place at a heart, soul, mind level. See, Jesus makes it super simple. He's like, hey, do you want to know if your thinking is spiritually healthy around your finances? Just look at your bank account. And he actually goes on to just give you a really tangible metric. He says, do you give? Are you generous with the things that you have in your life, or do you find yourself stingy? That will just inform you of what's taking place at a mind level inside of you. It's interesting. One of the leading experts on spiritual health did an interview a few decades ago. And I will never forget it because he was asked, this man was able to predict with 95% accuracy where someone would be in their spiritual journey in 5 years. Like with 95% accuracy. I mean, that's pretty close, right? That's pretty close to perfect. But he was asked, what is the predictable pattern that you noticed first that will inform you if someone is heading in a healthy direction or in an area of destruction? And he says, whether they start or stop giving. He said, I can tell where someone will be within 5 years based on where they give, how much they give, and if they stop giving and why they stop giving. Jesus actually says, wherever your treasure is, there will your heart be. And so we can just look at how do I engage my treasure, and that will inform me of how my heart lives. Look, if you want to wonder if your heart is in the right place, look at how you engage love and forgiveness. If you're wondering, is my heart in a healthy place? Just look at your actions on how you love people and how you forgive people. Now, oftentimes, again, because we oftentimes want to see ourselves in the most flattering light, we go to the person that's the most easy to love, and we go, I love them so well, right? I mean, if I was to just base my level of love on Marla and my boys, I'm like a rock star, right? I'm like knocking it out of the park. But you know what Jesus does? He's so annoying sometimes. He actually comes and he says, I want you not to look at the person it's easy to love. I want you to look at the person that you struggle to love and forgive the most. He's like, just look at them. Look at the person that when you see them, everything inside of your body just cringes, everything inside of you wants to get away. And he just says, let that be your metric for how well you love. Let that be your metric for your heart. Let that be your metric for how you forgive in these situations. See, if you want to know if your soul is in a healthy place, just check in with your experience around anxiety and hopelessness and exhaustion. Are you at peace more than you are in stress? And it will inform you of where your soul is resting and where you are striving to keep up with your own self. See, there's actually a real dangerous thing about coming to a gathering like this and hearing inspired words. Because there's actually something physiological in your body when you're inspired. That when you have an aha moment, when the lights go off, your brain actually releases dopamine into your body and you get like a high. Have you ever been sitting in a gathering like this, something brilliantly spewed out of my mouth, and all of a sudden you were like, and in those moments, it feels like God's speaking to you, and you're like, oh man, I can't tell you how many times I've been sitting in a church gathering or a conference or a space, and someone says something so profound that just hits me at my core, and I'm like, wow, that's so powerful. In that moment, what happens is your brain has this new neural pathway that wants to be formed, and it releases dopamine going, yes, keep doing that, that's a good thing. And so it can feel like something has happened in that moment. It can feel like, wow, I've transformed, I've changed. There's something new that has taken place. But here's the scary thing. Until you actually take action on that thing, nothing's actually happened. The only thing that's happened is a chemical has been released into your brain. That's the only thing that's happened up until that point. See, the danger is that you can sit here in a church gathering and say, wow, I should forgive. Wow, I should love. Wow, I should be generous. Wow, I should go do that thing. Wow, I should go have that conversation. I should forgive. I should live by faith. I should love. I should love my enemies. I should take the risk. I should have the conversation. And you can have a spiritual moment where you get all the wiggles and you get all excited and you feel like something's happened, but until it shows up in your muchness, nothing has happened, because insight alone is not enough. See, Jesus, through Paul, says this in Romans chapter 12, starting in verse 1. He says, therefore, I urge you, brothers and sisters, in view of God's mercy, to offer your bodies as a living sacrifice, holy and pleasing to God. This is your true and proper worship. Now notice, of all the things that he could have chosen to offer as a living sacrifice, he doesn't choose to offer your heart as a living sacrifice. He doesn't offer to choose your mind or even your soul as a living sacrifices, although those are important to offer him and to submit to him. He actually says, I want you to submit your muchness, your actions, your energy, your resources as a living sacrifice. Now this can be a weird imagery. I've been to Cancun several times, and I always love going to the Mayan ruins, and there's these places where they had literal human sacrifices, right? Where they would take usually young women up and rip their hearts out and sacrifice their bodies to a god. And I don't think that's actually what Jesus is asking us. Don't worry, we're not going to be drinking Kool-Aid later on in this gathering, but I don't know if it's too far off spiritually with what God asks of us. He says, look, I want you to take your actions, your energy, your body, how you live in the world around it. I would like for you to sacrifice it to me so that you can have something new as a result of that. See, most of our society, in most of sociology, they would love for us to think of ourselves as just another member of the animal kingdom. That we're no different than our dogs or cats or goldfish or gophers outside or the birds in the air. That we're just a biological entity, and that we find ourselves with really no difference between them. And in many ways, they are right. That all animals are controlled by like 4 or 5 basic instincts that they are living, that they are controlled by this drive for food, they're controlled by this drive for reproduction, they're controlled by this drive for pleasure, they're controlled by this drive for social interaction. And in many ways, there's not a lot that separates us from a dog or a cat or a goldfish. But there's actually one important thing that separates us from every other created thing on the planet. There is one thing that makes us unique from everything. See, my dog lives and dies on her biological impulses. I mean, you say treat, she's like this, and she's ready to go. You say walk, she's ready to go. You say outside, she's ready to go. And once that's in her brain, it's not going any way, right? And I can actually control her behavior really quickly. This is why people like dogs, because you can train them to do exactly what you want when you have control of their impulses. See, she does not ever pause to consider how she is going to act in those moments. There's never a moment where I say treat, and she says, my figure is a little round today, and I've had like 3 yesterday, and I'm pretty sure my cholesterol's high, so I think I'm going to turn this one down. Can we get like some whole grain treats or something? What can we do? No, they're just like treats, right? And they will literally eat themselves to death if you were to allow them to continue that. But we as humans, we have this powerful thing that because we are made in the image of God, He has gifted us with this one powerful thing. And this one powerful thing is called agency. See, I know you may think you have no control over your impulses. And it feels like that way sometimes, doesn't it? It feels like I have zero control over my actions when that urge comes upon me to eat that thing or to do that thing or to speak that thing or to spend in this way or to do the certain thing that I know I ought not to do. But I know the reality is that we as human beings, what separates us from every other living creature is that we can actually subject our bodies to our hearts, our minds, and our spirits and the Spirit of God and not be controlled by our impulses. Look, here's the crazy thing. I know this sounds radical, but you can choose to put down the donut. You can, I promise you. I promise you can. You can choose in that moment where you're betrayed and where you're hurting and it feels like you can't go further, you in that moment can choose to forgive and love. You can actually choose to say, I release you. You can actually choose to shut your mouth when someone has said something about you. You can choose to say, I am not going to say another word after what you have just said to me and continue on about your day. You can choose to forgive in the face of betrayal. You can choose to walk away in a moment of extreme temptation. See, the moment that we give up that spiritual power of agency, of choice, we are no different than a dog or a cat or a goldfish. But the moment that we own the agency that God has given us, we are elevated in those moments. See, and this is why at times we feel stuck in our bodies, with our muchness, with our strength, because we feel incapable of getting out of this animal-like cycle of impulse and action and impulse and action. And in 1 Corinthians 6:19, it says, do you not know that your bodies are temples of the Holy Spirit, who is in you, whom you have received from God? You are not your own. You were bought at a price, therefore honor God with your bodies. See, the scriptures call us to offer our bodies as living sacrifices, not to be decimated by God, not so that he can destroy them or to use them or to abuse them. I think sometimes people think, if I give my life over to God, this is it. My life's going to be destroyed. I'm just going to be forever exhausted and anxious and suffering as a result of this. But we actually offered them to him so that we could be elevated by God. See, the moment that you choose to offer your bodies as a living sacrifice and own the agency that God has given you, you are now no longer subject to every hormonal impulse that comes your way. But when Jesus becomes the Lord of our strength, we look to him as the Lord and the ruler over our energy, our resources, our actions, our mustness. And when we do that, he always sets us free. See, your strength, your body, yeah, you can clap for that. Your strength, your body moves from simply a biological impulse to the temple where the creator of the universe lives within. See, oftentimes when we ask, where is God? We point to out there somewhere. But really, he chooses to dwell within these temples. That God is not out here somewhere. That God is here within us. It's why even during ministry time, I don't mind it, and we'll probably do it every now and then. I don't want people to come forward because God does not live in a stage. You know where God lives? Out there, in you. And it's why we say, go pray for one another, because the Spirit of God lives within you when you have submitted your body over to him. There's something really beautiful that happens in the midst of this. Now, what happens when we submit our body to God and he lives within us? Because we don't just become like a zombie, right? Like now the Spirit of God lives within me, right? That's not how it works. Just this last thought in 1 Corinthians 9:24, it says, do you not know that in a race all runners run, but only one gets the prize? Run in such a way as to get the prize. Everyone who competes in the games goes into strict training. They do it to get a crown that will not last, but we do it to get a crown that will last forever. Therefore, I do not run like someone running aimlessly. I do not fight like a boxer beating the air. No, I strike a blow to my body and I make it my slave, so that after I have preached to others, I myself will not be disqualified for the prize. Yeah, that's powerful. Paul says that he strikes a blow to his body and he makes it a slave so that he will not be disqualified at the end of our days. See, I know, again, this may sound so crazy, but you can actually tell your body what it needs to do. You can actually say, we're not doing that, we're doing this. We are doing that, we're not doing that over there. You can actually inform your body of what to do. So you are either a slave to your body or your body is a slave to you. But you get to choose how you interact with one of the greatest gifts that God has given you. And the moment that you make that choice, the moment that you offer yourself as a living sacrifice to God and you offer him all of your muchness and your actions and your strength and your energy, that is the moment that you are set free. That is the moment that you are released. Now, here's the interesting thing about the body. It's kind of like a both-way exchange. See, transformation can happen through the body both ways. See, you can actually train your heart and your mind and your soul, and your body will follow suit. It's interesting, whenever I coach, especially CEOs who are looking to get a culture together, or they're looking to increase their ROI, their revenue, or they're looking to take their company to the next level, they always want to know, what do I need to do? And they're frustrated when I say, I don't know. It's always like, well, I'm paying you money to tell me what to do. And I'm like, no. Let's talk about your thinking. Let's talk about what's taking place in your mind. Let's talk about what's taking place in your heart, and let's talk about what's taking place in your soul. Let's have that conversation. And it's amazing how when individuals start getting healthy in their heart, and they start getting healthy in their mind, and their souls start to bring things into alignment, how all of a sudden what they need to do comes so naturally. I can't tell you how many times we've had a conversation around a thought pattern that someone's in, and the next week we have a conversation and they say, I went back and I asked forgiveness from all my employees and everything's working again. We had the best week of the company's history. I can't tell you how many times I've gone to an individual and said, hey, would you just consider the attitude that you're bringing to your marriage? Just consider the attitude that you are committed to and what Jesus might actually invite you into. And they come back and they say, I don't know what happened, but it worked. You didn't give me the 5-step plan to a healthy marriage, but for some reason I shifted my heart, and then my actions followed suit. And then my muchness, my energy, my resources followed what my mind was thinking. It followed what my heart was thinking. It followed what my soul was integrating in that. But here's the other crazy thing, is that you can actually start training your body, and your heart and your mind will follow suit as well. How many of you have ever just decided, I'm going to the gym? And your heart was like, this is stupid, right? And your mind is like, this is early and it's gonna hurt, right? And your soul was like, right? All the things, it just all flares up. And how many of you, you're just like, right, body, let's go. And you're like dragging your body to the gym, right? And then you get out of the gym, and how many of you have had that experience afterwards where you're like, I'm so glad I did that. I feel so much better about myself. I feel so much better about my life. I feel so much better about my future. Today's a good day, right? See, it works both ways. That's the beautiful thing about this gift of our strength, our energy, our muchness, is that our hearts and our minds will transform our actions. But your actions actually get to transform your heart and mind as well. They work in this beautiful symbiotic relationship. Now it is super on trend to be in alignment with the universe. I know that's like a big trend right now, to put your intentions out to the universe and to be in alignment with what's taking place. And so oftentimes I have lots of beautiful friends who will say, well, this month Saturn is in alignment with Neptune and Mercury is in retrograde, and so now I can pursue love. Or now my career is finally going to work. Or now I can have this higher vision that's available to my life. See, what I love about Jesus is that he actually takes that same principle, but he elevates it. He's like, how about we don't get and wait till the universe is in alignment? How about we align ourselves with the creator of the universe? And the moment that you decide, I'm going to align my heart with my mind, and I'm going to allow my soul to integrate all of them together, and they are submitted over to the creator of the universe, it is amazing how your actions will be set free. All the things that you have been struggling with, the addictions, the overcomplicating of things, the wondering why I can't stop this, the wondering why I don't do this, suddenly all of those fade because now you are in alignment with the God of the universe. See, the universe doesn't actually care about your freedom, but the creator of the universe does. And the second that you are in alignment with him, he will set you free. Now, I just want to give you real last thing. I'm going to give you 5 quick categories of alignment with your body. And if you know me, I never give you 5 anything, so this is a historic moment, all right? So the first question is this: do you own your agency? Do you actually choose what you do with your energy, with your body, with your actions, with your muchness? Or does life just happen to you? Do you find yourself reacting to life thinking, I don't have a choice, there's no possibility here, I don't see a way out? Or do you allow yourself to own your life, or does your body choose for you? See, if you've released your power of agency that God has given you, it's going to be very difficult to find freedom. The next thought is, do you live in integrity? When you say you're going to do something, do you do it? When you say you're not going to do something, do you not do it? Do your actions match what you say you value in life? Or does your body, once again, choose for you what you ought to do and not do? Now, here's the crazy thing. You actually have to know what you value first to know if you are in alignment with that and in integrity. See, you are always in integrity with what you value. The question is that the value that God has for your life? And so the second that you get clear on what you value and you live in integrity with that, freedom is released in your life. Now this one is probably the one that we struggle with the most. Are you present with who and what is in front of you? Your body, is it available and tuned into what's right here and right now? See, because we live in a digital world where we have a screen in front of our face most of the time, our minds, our hearts are usually somewhere else rather than who and what is right in front of us. We struggle with presence more so than ever. I can't tell you how many people I talk to on a regular basis that I say, what's your struggle in life? I want to be present. See, where are you? See, some of you have actually become expert time travelers, and you're not actually present with who's here. You're actually present with what took place 10 years ago, 5 years ago, last week, what happened in the meeting beforehand, or you're traveling into the future of what could go wrong and might go wrong and should go wrong and how everything's going to fall apart. We are rarely just present in our bodies right here going, God, where is the resource right now that you have for me? Because let me just tell you, God cannot meet you in your past. It's done. And he will certainly transform your future, but he loves to meet you right here. And everything you need to step into freedom is right here. It is not there, and it is not in your future. It is right here. But we get to be present with it. This next question might seem odd, but how much pleasure do you experience? How often do you go through your life going, that was a good time? Man, I felt so much joy. I felt so much pleasure. How much time do you go through life enjoying life and food and touch and nature in sacred ways? Now, we often don't associate pleasure with Jesus. In fact, most of my friends who are not believers yet look at Jesus and they think, I'll get to Jesus one day when I'm done having pleasureful experiences, right? You know, like when I'm done getting wasted on the weekends, when I'm done sleeping around with people, when I'm done like doing all the things that I want to do. Maybe one day I'll find Jesus once I have kids and then we'll think about it, right? Because we oftentimes think of Jesus as the pleasure killjoy. But when I look at the life of Jesus, this dude experienced a lot of pleasure. This was the guy that was like at the wedding that was like, we need more booze, right? There's not enough booze. Who has water? Turn it into wine, right? If you look at how often he was at parties, he was constantly eating. He was constantly at festivals. He was constantly with people. He was constantly enjoying his life. Now, were there moments of suffering? Absolutely. Were there moments of despair? Absolutely. Were there moments of desperation and hopelessness? Absolutely. But he found pleasure in his friendships and his giving of himself and his day-to-day work. See, Jesus invites us to find an elevated level of pleasure. See, what Jesus actually says, he's like, I know all that stuff that you think brings you pleasure is like the end game and you're going to have to give it up. What he says is, I'm going to actually invite you into a level of pleasure that you could not imagine. You will find pleasure being outside in the sun. You will find pleasure in a conversation over a cup of coffee. You will find pleasure in your work. You will find pleasure in your day-to-day. You will find pleasure in your finances. You will find pleasure in just your breath. And that is a level of pleasure that most human beings will never experience, and we will certainly never experience outside of Jesus. And the last question is, do you live with discipline? Not as punishment. I know most of us hear that word and we think just discipline. It's like a 4-letter word, right? But discipline as the foundation and embodiment of love. See, I'm going to invite you to consider that you are already a disciplined person. You have disciplined yourself to engage in all kinds of behaviors and actions over and over and over again. Let me just take a survey. How many of you have patterns in your life that when you look at them, you think, I would rather not do that or have that pattern in my life anymore. Like a thought or an action. Yeah, almost everyone in the room. You are so disciplined, right? Look at this. Even in the face of, I want to stop this, you discipline yourself to keep doing it. It's amazing, right? Even when you're like, I should stop this, I need to stop this, you are so disciplined, you're like, I'm going to have so much willpower, I'm going to keep on doing it, even if it destroys me and my family and my finances and my health. Look how disciplined you are, right? So you are so disciplined. The question is, how do you take all that discipline that you have been using for destruction, and how do you move it towards goodness? How do you take all that discipline that you have been using towards self-sabotage and towards hopelessness and towards brokenness and submit it over to God and allow Him to use it to elevate your life? See, we have disciplined ourselves in anger and porn and resentment and laziness and food. And just think about how much that costs you. But what would it look like if you disciplined yourself in a way that brought you to life? See, these are some of the questions that I believe Jesus has about our muchness, about our strength. Do you live with a sense of agency? Or does life and circumstance and your body, does it control you? Do you live with a sense of integrity, that what I value actually flows from my life? Are you present with who and what is in front of you? Are you present in the moment, looking for where is the miracle right now, right here that God wants to invite me into? Is your life defined by pleasure more than it is despair? And are you willing to discipline yourself, to strike a blow to your body, to make it a slave to freedom that has already been bought to you, so that at the end of your days, you might not be disqualified? See, this is the freedom that Jesus invites us into. Freedom of our heart, freedom of our mind, our souls, and our bodies. And when all of those come into alignment, we are released and liberated to live the life that was bought and paid for you and for me. Would you just take a moment, close your eyes, bow your head. I want you to think about that question around agency and living in agency. I want you just to pause for a moment and ask yourself, do the circumstances of my life control where I go, who I am, what I do? And maybe even not asking yourself, does that happen, but maybe asking yourself a deeper question, where is that happening? Where have I decided that there is no choice? That there's no possibility to take an action, there's no possibility for something new. And I'm going to ask you just to ask God a simple question. And it's this. Just ask Him, God, what is one action that you would like me to take this week that would align my body, my muchness, my energy with your freedom? What's one action I could take? And look, I'm not talking about I'm going to start going to the gym 7 days a week for an hour. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the one small thing that's connected to the attitude of heart. It might be just, I'm putting down my phone for 30 minutes to look at my loved ones in the face this week. It might be, I'm just going to discipline myself in this one area so that I can know that I can make a choice where it feels like there is no choice. It could be, gosh, I know that person that I need to forgive or I need to love, and it could be, hey, I'm going to take one small step moving forward in that. But what is the action that you get to express your heart and your mind fully submitted to God this week? And I'd like for you to commit to taking that action this week. That you wouldn't just walk away from here having dopamine released into your brain because you had a moment of inspiration, but that you would walk away transformed because you did something. With just your eyes closed, if you would say, hey, Nathan, I am committed to taking that action this week, would you just raise your hand? Like, I'm committed to taking that action this week. I will take that action. Awesome. All over the room. Now, for those of you in the room, look, this is not just a rah-rah, go live your best life now. This can only happen when your heart, your soul, and your mind are submitted to Jesus fully. It won't work. It'll just be like a momentary behavior modification, and that's not what you were made for. You were made to be elevated so that your whole body would be a temple for the living God. And so this morning, if you're here and you have not yet submitted your heart, your mind, your soul, your body to Jesus, I want to give you an opportunity to do that. And look, here's the beautiful thing. He just says, I want to come and be in relationship with you, and he will flood you with his Spirit, and he will set you free. He's not asking any more of you than he has already done for you, that he came and he lived a perfect life, and he died on a cross for you so that you could live the moment that you surrender your life to him. And if you're here this morning and you're like, I am ready to surrender my life to Jesus, maybe for the first time or the first time in a long time, because freedom is not available apart from him. If that's you this morning, I'm going to ask you to do something just really courageous. Would you just raise your hand and say, I'm going to connect to Jesus today. I want to submit to him. Awesome. Who else? All over the room. Yep. Awesome. I want to pray this simple prayer with you. It's super simple, and I want you just to pray it. And after I pray this, when we leave today, I want you to go back to Next Step, and they're just going to give you a ton of resources and a ton of like a gift to help support you. But I just want you to pray this really simple prayer. Jesus, I give you my life. Just pray that just from your heart, your mind, your soul to him. Jesus, I give you my life, and just surrender it over to him. And he will come and he will fill you. He will come and he will direct your heart and your mind, and he will direct your actions, all of your muchness. So Jesus, we thank you for your freedom. He who the Son sets free is free indeed. May we be those who do not just think about freedom as a nice idea, but may we be those who are set free to go live the life you've called us to run the race before us, so that at the end of our days we might not be disqualified, but we might end our days fully alive and free. We thank you in Jesus' name. Amen and amen.
Amen.